All right, let's walk through some examples of this week's material. So you should have already gone through the reading that was assigned in the modules. So I'm going to assume that you've seen that. I'm just going to go through a couple of quick examples and set up some of the skills that we're going to need for this week's assignment. So I'm using Visual Studio Code, VS Code. This is a Microsoft editor. I'm running a Mac, but it's going to work generally the same on a Windows machine or a Chromebook, whatever you are using in order to work this. So you can use whatever editor you want. Notepad++, there's a editor called Atom. There's lots of great options out there. I think Visual Studio Code and Chrome today is probably the best tool set for web development. So that's what I'm going to be using. So first thing we want to notice is that this is the welcome screen. You get this every time you set up every time you're going to set up uh, a new screen or new project. So you're going to have this running. So we can explore. There's some shortcuts here for opening a new file and things like that. We're going to be using really primarily the file explorer and the search button, and that's really about it. We'll get into these others, you'll get into these other features later as we go. One quick note, VS Code comes with an AI tool built in called Copilot. This is a great tool. This is an AI chat generator. Think of like ChatGPT, but this is the Microsoft Copilot version that's built into all of their tools. And let me just say that I think the AI tools are really phenomenal. They are absolutely great, do lots of great work. I use them all the time. But in this course, we do not want to be using the AI tools. So if you are a professional developer, you will very likely use these AI tools to help you code faster. But in this course, this is a foundations course, a beginning course. We're going to be doing everything by hand because we need to learn the fundamentals, and we don't want to get ahead of ourselves with using these AI tools. The AI tools are great, and they take a developer that knows what they're doing and speeds them up. If you use this instead of learning, you're not going to know if the code that's being generated is right. You're not going to know what you're doing, and it's not going to help you. So we're going to turn off the Copilot tool, and we are not going to use that. Um, the there are standards within Alamo College that if you are using AI tools to do your work, that is a violation of the school's policies and principles for student conduct, and will not work out well for you if you make a habit of doing that. I can usually tell at this point when something is generated fully with AI, not always, but usually I can tell, and it's usually because the work is better than it should be based on the skill level of the students at this point. So um, just don't use the AI tools. Commit yourself to learning how to do this. As you get better and better and you get into more complex stuff, you can use the AI tools to help you. But for this course, we're going to leave them out. Okay, so when we come in to work on something, what we want to do is we want to open a folder. So I'm going to keep all of my material in a single folder. So I come in, I'm going to go ahead and do File, Open Folder, and I have a folder here uh, on my uh, on my laptop that is going to be where I'm going to keep all my work for this course. So I'm going to go ahead and open that folder. Now, when I'm in that, I can go ahead and look at the File Explorer by clicking this little file icon up here. And I can see now that I have a week two folder in there, which has my work from week two. And I'm just going to add folders week three, four, five, six, etc. as we go. So I'm going to go ahead and close the welcome screen. I'm going to go ahead and add new folders. So here I'm just right clicking. You can also click on this add folder button right here on the parent folder that we've opened. Right click, say new folder, week three. Now notice I'm naming everything in lowercase letters. In HTML and JavaScript for web design, this is typically the approach. HTML, CSS, JavaScript, everything is going to be lowercase letters. Um, the web is generally case insensitive, and so we're going to be building everything in lowercase letters. As we get file names in lowercase letters, so file names and folder names, all lowercase, no spaces, no special characters, no dashes, no asterisks, anything like that. So we're going to keep everything nice and tight, following these principles. So there's a little arrow here where I can open up and close uh, the subfolders so I can see what's in them. So I'm just going to close week two because we're not using that anymore, and we're going to work here in week three. So I click on week three. Now we want to add a file. So there's some shortcuts here to add files. There's a little shortcut here for new file. There's a shortcut here for new folders. There's some refreshes and such that goes on. So if you're changing the folder outside of Visual Studio Code, then you can use this refresh, etc. So I'm going to go ahead and add a file. I can also just right click in here and add a file, but let's go ahead and add a file. We're going to call it index.html. Index is typically the name of the starting point for any project. So if you're going to create a series of web pages or a website, index is usually where the user will begin their journey through your website. So we're always going to do that index.html as our starting point. Again, all lowercase, index, lowercase, period, HTML, lowercase, and we go. Okay, so now we have our basic editor. This is VS Code. There's a couple of shortcuts built in here. The most useful one is to just put a single exclamation point. This is a built-in shortcut into VS Code. You put a single exclamation point and hit the Enter key, and you get a boilerplate HTML page. Now this is kind of pseudo AI. This is not exactly AI. These are just tools built into the editor to help you code faster. We're going to see a lot of those as we go. The editor is trying to help you by opening and closing tags for you, by giving you suggestions for attributes of the tags. So as we type, VS Code is helping us by giving us IntelliSense or suggestions, type aheads, things like that that we can use. So I'm going to do some quick page setup. So we're going to call this Explore Lists and Links. That's what we're going to talk about today. So we're going to go ahead and set the title. We have the body set there. Notice the indentation here is really important. So in HTML, the browser is not going to care about your indentation, but you as a human trying to read this, you're going to care about the indentation. So you want to make sure that your top level tags are always at the very beginning, column one, and then anything that's inside that those tags should be indented. So this is the head section that we had. This has the title typically in it. Other meta, we'll be using this when we include CSS and JavaScript files and other external resources. We'll put links and scripts in here. Then here we in the body is where we're going to put the body of our page. So it's always good to have kind of a title on the page. So we're going to use an H1. So notice as I'm typing, I open my tag, and then it gives me a list of the tags that it knows about. This is the IntelliSense VS Code is configured so that it knows what language I'm coding in this case, HTML. And so it's giving me some options as I type to help me be faster. So I can pick from the list, or I can just type it. So if I type H1, notice when I close this tag, so I'm about to press the arrow, the caret option to close this. When I close it, it automatically puts in the ending tag for me. Remember that this tag is a container tag, and so an H1 has an opening tag, an ending tag, and then the content is inside that tag. This is as opposed to singletons. The meta is a singleton tag, or a void tag, in which case it does not have a closing tag. Title is a container tag, H1 is a container tag. So we're going to go ahead and put an H1 here. And we're going to say this is we're going to say exploring lists and links. Okay. And I'm just kind of making this up. We're gonna, web page design and what it should look like is probably the hardest thing you're going to do. Coding the page is really easy. Figuring out what the page should look like is usually the hard part. So I'm just going to put some stuff in here. This is going to be very simple, basic pages. So here's what we have as we begin. Let's go ahead and put a divider in there, a horizontal rule. That's another void tag. Sometimes they're coded like that. You can put the ending tag in line, but we're just going to leave it. And we go. So now let's go ahead and just load this up in our browser just to make sure it's right. I'm going to hit Control S or Command S to save. Now when I want to load this, I can come over here to VS Code on the File Explorer, and I can right click and I can say copy the path. I want the full path. This is the absolute path versus the relative path. So the relative path is the path within the folder itself. The copy path copies the path from in my entire computer. So if I'm opening that up in the browser, I'm going to need the full absolute path. So I'm going to copy path. And then when I switch over to my Chrome window, which I'm running in incognito, that's not really necessary, but I like to test things in incognito because just in case I'm logged in somewhere or something like that, then nothing odd is going to happen. So I'm always going to try to do this in incognito. I can just paste that in. You see, this is the entire link of the of that file on my computer. And so when I open that up, um, Chrome is going to render that from my computer. So here's what we have. Here's my H1 tag, and here's my horizontal rule. Okay, so let's go back here. Let's do a little exploration using the list. So we have an ordered list and an unordered list. So those are the OL and the UL tags, which you've read about in the reading material. And then we're going to use list items, which is the LI tag. So let's do a quick exploration on that. Let's do an H2 tag, and we'll say list examples. Um, and then let's say here's an H3 tag, and let's say ordered list. Okay. H2, H3, et cetera. These are just getting lower, smaller and smaller, kind of lower level formats. A lot of H1, H2, H3, heading one, heading two, heading three, these are built into a lot of word processors, docs, Word, things like that. So you might have a little bit of familiarity with that. So we put those lists in. Now let's go ahead and put in an ordered list. So we do the OL tag. Notice we get the close right there. The OL is a multiple level tag. So I'm inside the ordered list. I'm going to put some list items. So I'm going to go ahead and put that on a separate line. And I'm going to put the list items in the middle. And I'm going to put multiple of these. These are just going to create a numbered list as opposed to a bullet list. So I'm just going to put in some placeholder text. Okay, let's save that. So now we have H1, a rule, a horizontal rule, H2 and H3, and then we've got an ordered list with using three list items. Notice the list items are container tags, so they are indented inside the OL. In this case, because we have additional tags inside the OL tag, we're going to put those on new lines and indent those. Again, the browser is not going to care. You could put this all in one line and the browser is going to render it just fine. But you as a human trying to read this and edit this, you're going to want the indentation there. So we work very hard to keep our code. And notice also that VS Code is doing it for us. So as soon as I come in here and press enter in front of OL, it's already indented me by one tab stop. So VS Code is trying to help us by giving us IntelliSense and type ahead hints and things like that to keep track of our code. All right, so let's save this, Control S, and let's go flip back over to VS Code and let's refresh our page. And here we have the H1, the horizontal rule, the H2, the H3. You can see that the font is getting progressively smaller, as we go through those header tags. When we get into CSS, we'll be able to talk about using maybe different colors or different backgrounds or things like that for all these H tags. Here's our ordered list with the items 1, 2, 3, and notice we get the 1, 2, 3 prefixes on there automatically based on what is here in the list. If we come in and we were to reorder this list, and so we have 1, 3, 2, when I come back here, the numbers change. So the first item in the OL is always going to be 1 right here. The second item is always going to be 2. It doesn't matter what's in the list. It's those 1, 2, 3 numbers are generated by the browser. Okay, so keep that in mind. This is an ordered list. The list, it's gonna, the items in the list need to make sense with the automatic numbering that's going to be added. All right, so let's save that, look at it again, refresh that. I'm just hitting Control R, Command R here to refresh on my page. So, all right, so that's ordered list. Let's go ahead and let's do another H3 tag, and let's call it unordered list. The unordered list is going to be a UL tag, and it's going to be a container as well. So we're going to go ahead and put some list items in it, and we're going to say maybe this unordered list is going to be maybe in this case we want a list of colors. So let's do red. You're gonna have blue. It's an LI. blue, and let's do this one, LI green. Okay. Save that, flip over to Chrome, load it up. So here's our unordered list. Works exactly as the OL, but instead of numbers 1, 2, 3, we just get bullet points. Now, when we get into styling and CSS, we'll be able to do a lot of work here. So you can use different shapes and colors for the bullets. You can use different fonts. I mean, there's a lot of stuff you can do here to really make this pretty. So you can tell this is just basic ugly HTML rendered as the browser sees it. So no web page out there looks like this, or very, very few. No good web pages out there look like this. So they've all the pages have been styled up to help us with navigating. We'll get to that in the coming weeks. Okay, so here we are back at our HTML. Let's go ahead and jump into some links. So this is ordered lists and unordered lists. Okay, so let's go ahead. Let's do another H2, and let's call this link examples. Okay. And then we're going to make some links. So let's save that, flip over. Here's our link examples. Now we're going to put in some links. So you can put links in a list. You can put links by themselves. You can put links in a paragraph. You can put links in line in a paragraph. So there's all these ways to do that. So let's do a quick unordered list of links. Okay. Let's do an unordered list here. Let's do a link. This is a list item. Now we build a link um, uh, to do that. Let's take a step back. Before we put them in a list, let's just build a basic link. To use the link, use the anchor tag, which is the A. So inside the anchor tag, you have a couple of steps. Now, we're going to have what's inside the link, the content of the tag itself is going to be the text that appears that we click on. Okay, so this is going to be clickable text. Okay. Now the target of the link is going to be on attributes of the anchor tag. So we're going to start coding inside the open tag here on the A. So we're going to put a space in there. The link of where we're going to go to is called the href attribute. Okay. And notice we're getting some help typing. See, as we begin typing attributes, it says, do you want an href tag? If I click on that, it kind of formats it up for me. All of the attributes are typically the attribute name and equal sign, um, and then in quotes, double quotes, this is going to be um, the tag that we want to have. So let's just go ahead and link to um, the Alamo College page. Okay. Um, okay, so let's go ahead and save that. And now let's go ahead and go back to our web page and see we have a link here. Here's our unordered list. We created that list, but we didn't put anything in it. So we'll come back and fix that. But if I click here on this clickable text for Alamo EDU, it's going to redirect me to the Alamo Colleges page. Okay. Notice that when I click that, that is opening that new link in the same tab. That's because that's the default of the aref is to open in the same tab. Okay. Let's go ahead and do some more examples here. So let's do another quick A. Let's put one in our unordered list. So let's make a list of search engine here. So I'm going to do an A tag, and we're going to say this is going to be Google. Let's go ahead and do that as an href equals, and that's going to be google.com. Let me just copy that. Now notice that I have a container tag, li is a container tag, and a is also a container tag. So I could do this on formatting. You could do that, but the it depends on how complex the contents of this list is, right? So you may not want to do that. You may want to do that. I mean, I think it's over indentation is always better than under indentation. If you get this tag, maybe we have a link inside a paragraph. That's something that's going to get really complicated. So um, always a good idea to separate this out. So let's go ahead and do this other one for DuckDuckGo, another search engine. Okay, let's go ahead and save that. Come over here and render it. So now if we click here, we can see that we're clicking over to Google. We click here, we're going to go to DuckDuckGo. Okay, so now if I wanted to keep my users on my page, I can create I can use a second attribute in the A tag. So instead of opening these in the same window, let's open these in a new window or a new tab. Now, this is something you got to be careful about. If your website is popping off windows and tabs willy-nilly, then your user's probably not going to like that. So if you're going to open up in a new tab, you have to have a really good use case. Um, but it is often what you want to do. So you do that by using the target option, and we're going to say target equals blank, underscore blank. And so that will then open this up in a new tab. So let's go ahead and save that, refresh our page here. Always hit refresh. Make sure you hit refresh. In this case, we didn't change the format. We just changed the underlying code. So now when I click on Google, it's going to open up in a new tab. DuckDuckGo is still going to open up in this tab because I didn't change the target attribute. The default attribute for target is self, which means it's going to open up in the same tag. Let's go ahead and just put in a target equals blank for that. And then we're good. Okay, so we can save that. That's some examples of putting links with absolute links into in an unordered list. Let's put a link in a paragraph. So let's create a paragraph. Um, and then we'll say, let's just say, click here to search on google.com. Okay. Now what we want to do is we only want the word here to be the link, right? So we want the rest of this all to be paragraph, but we want to be able to click on just on the word here in order to link that. So let's save this and render it, see what it looks like. See, now we don't have it here. What we want to do is want to change this word here into the link, okay? So to do that, we want to put an A tag around that. So let's put an anchor tag. Inside the anchor tag, we're going to put here. And then in the href, we're going to put google.com. And then let's just leave that as the self target. Okay. So now we have embedded in the paragraph, we have a link. So now the only part that's going to be clickable is just that one word. So let's save that, refresh our page, and now we see that here is a link. So clicking on this is just highlighting, but if I click on the word here, then it's going to go to Google. Okay. So now we can embed those links really inside any of the other tags. So the links, those anchor links, those link tags are going to be embedded wherever we want them. Okay, and notice in this case, I did not do the new line because paragraph is kind of a sentence type structure. It's a paragraph structure, so you kind of expect that to all be on one line. If you were to put indentations and tabs and such in here, it's going to work just fine. But in just styling context, this is typically how you're going to see it. A paragraph tag is going to be all on one line. Okay, let's talk a little bit about linking to relative links. So um, I want to link to another page within my project. So what I want to do is let's create another paragraph. Click here to see my about page. Okay. And so now we're going to say, put that in a anchor tag. And then the href there is going to be a relative link. Oops, keep that inside the, the double quotes. So now I'm going to link here into about.html. Notice this is a relative link. So this says the relative link is link to this file HTML, look for it in the same folder that this index.html is in. So if I, you know, there's a absolute link to this file. It's my Dropbox, it's my C:\/ whatever your file structure is telling you that this is. But if you deploy that into a web server somewhere, that absolute link doesn't work anymore. So this is an absolute link because I'm going outside of my site to another server. Google and Alamo and DuckDuckGo, these are servers that are out there on some other address other than mine. About.html is my page and my project. And so I want to do a relative link on that so that it will just link into an about.html that's in the same folder as index. Now, if I had multiple folders here, maybe I had a subdomain or something like that, I could still put that in, but I would do a relative link, basically leaving out the HTTPS. I would say Maybe it's something like that. Maybe I have an images folder or something like that, but it's still relative because I'm leaving out the HTTPS. So let's see what happens when we do this. So let's save that and render it. Here's my about page. When I click on this, notice I get a 404. This is not found. Okay. But notice my URL here, it's looking for that about.html in the same folder as it's looking for the index. Notice here, so the only thing that changes on my address bar is it changes from index.html to about.html. So what I have to do now is I can just go back to my file folder. I can create another file here in week 3. Whoops. Um, I didn't actually put index in week 3, so that's a mistake. So that should be actually be in week 3. Okay, so I can just move that. So I made a mistake there. When I created index.html, I didn't actually put it in the folder. So that was my mistake. So now I have. So now, because of that, when I go to render this, it's going to say we can't find that. So now I just need to change. I just need to copy the path again and open that up. Okay, and here we are back. So again, being very careful to keep your files in the right folders. My mistake happens all the time. Been coding for 35 years. Make mistakes like that every day. It's not uncommon. You'll make them too. Don't worry about it. It happens all the time. So let's create a new file in week 3. I'm going to use the new file shortcut here, about.html. We're going to use our single exclamation point shortcut. And I'm not actually going to make this page. We're just going to say, um, we're just going to, really not good at typing tonight. So there we go. So it's just a very simple page. So now when we go back and look at about.html, notice that we're linking here from index.html, we're linking to about, and we've built that up. Also notice in my editor, I've got multiple tabs, so I can switch between these. So I can edit, in my editor, I can have multiple files open at the same time, and I can edit those. There's even some cool split screen stuff where I can split my screens and I can see both of them at the same time. So maybe I can view, let's put index on this side and let's put about on this side. So I can view them side by side if I want to. So all that is really cool, all that split screen stuff, etc. So really powerful tool, VS Code. Okay, so let's see if that link is working. So go ahead and refresh this. Always make sure you refresh that. I'm just hitting Control R. You can also hit the refresh button here. So now when we go to link, we can click on this and we get linked to our about page. And notice that the URL has changed. So that's using those relative links. Okay. All right. That's going to be it for this week. Check the Canvas module for your assignment, and it will be use everything that we've gone through in this list plus the reading, or in this video plus the reading should be everything you need to complete that assignment properly.